Alrighty boys, welcome back to another video. Now today's video we're going to be talking about the Drs-Iar, otherwise known as the M27 Iar from Battlefield 3. Now in terms of attachments, the things that I mostly focus on, guys, is going to be the flash hider is always a must-have in my opinion. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is the 20 LE extended barrel. Now the reason why I do that is so you get that higher bullet velocity, and I think that's really important in a game like this. Now this gun, I feel like you can't be that free with your attachments. Like, in my opinion, I think you should just take off the grip because it doesn't really have that much recoil in the first place. Take off your laser sight, take off like all your extra attachments, and then you either go for a bigger magazine and then just run like normal ammunition, or you go for a synthetic tip ammunition where you get the extra headshot damage, and then you run like a 30 or 40 round magazine, and then you're probably in good shape. Me personally, I think what I'm probably gonna do when I'm playing this game, since there isn't any like ranked game mode or anything like that, I would probably personally just run the higher magazine, just because when you're playing like a more arcadey shooter, just having more bullets is usually going to be better, so that way you can do more spraying, you can kill more enemies without having to reload. It's just a lot easier overall, so that's what I would personally recommend. But I do think you should always be trying to run a flash hider or like a suppressor, or just something that hides your, you know what I mean, position on the minimap whenever you shoot, because I feel like one of the biggest problems you can have is spraying at one enemy and then all of a sudden everybody turns around and just guns you down, and then you're just screwed at that point, you know what I mean? So that's what I would personally recommend. Always have that flash hider on, always build around the flash hider. Build up the bullet velocity, and then obviously if you want to meta build, focus on more headshot damage, and you're probably in good shape. But me personally, since you don't really need to worry about meta in this game unless you like really care about stuff like that, you should just run the extended magazine where it goes all the way up to 60 and you'll be in pretty good shape. Now in terms of like the overall recoil for this gun, the biggest thing that I noticed is that it didn't really have that much recoil. It's just like one of those like standard guns where you want to tap fire at range, you want to burst fire at range, like mid to long range, and you're in good shape. And then obviously as you upgrade the magazine, you'll be able to spray more and more on those mid to long range gunfights and not really tend to have to worry about it. Like I said, the recoil isn't that insane right now, so it's like a pretty like decent gun overall. So I don't think it's like it compares to like a lot of the like stronger meta weapons in the game, like the M4 or like the Vector on the SMG. But I think the fact that since it is like an assault rifle LMG hybrid, you do have that option of getting a lot of bullets while also having like a pretty low like recoil overall. While I was leveling it up too, I noticed the reload animation was pretty satisfying as well. Like, look at this reload animation, like it's actually so nice. But maybe that's just like a personal preference for me. Now one other thing I wanted to mention is the hip fire on this gun is actually like really like good as well in my opinion. I don't think it's like one of those guns where you should like run around and hip fire people the entire time, but I do think it's like one of those guns where you can definitely like start a gunfight where you're hip firing and then just like go into your ADS, and the ADS time isn't like super long either, so you should be able to like get your gun up while you're like actively taking fights and be able to get kills like that, you know what I mean? And in worst case scenario, you kill them with the hip fire if you don't get your ADS up in time. Honestly though, the ADS time is really fast, like especially for like an assault rifle LMG hybrid. Like it's still like really fast, and usually on guns like this, they usually like an LMG for example, usually are always gonna have a longer ADS time, but this one is like really fast in my opinion, so it feels more like an assault rifle when you're actively using it. So like as you're like leveling it up, it feels more like an assault rifle, and then I imagine once you put the like 60 round magazine on, if you decide to go that route, it's gonna feel more like an LMG at that point. Now I haven't reached full mastery with this gun yet, so I don't actually know how much of like the slowdown you're gonna get at the 60 round magazine for your like draw speed. But the one thing I will say is that I imagine you could just go to like the 50 or the 45 or one of those if the draw speed becomes like really obnoxious, like a lot of the LMGs do have. And by draw speed I just mean like the ADS time. Like if you have like a longer ADS time, obviously then you're gonna have to do more like hip firing into like an ADS, and obviously with some of the LMGs, like if you're facing against like an SMG for example, you might lose the gunfight during that small window while you're doing that. So what I'd recommend is to, if you do decide to max out this weapon, is to give that 60 round magazine a try, and if it doesn't turn out to be like good on like the ADS speed, then just bump it down to like the 50 and you should be in pretty good shape, because overall the weapon is just like really solid where it is right when you like get it, in my opinion. Like the recoil is pretty good overall, the hip fire is really good overall, the ADS time is very good overall. Like pretty much like close quarters you're in good shape. Mid-range to long-range you're in pretty good shape as well. Like I said, with this weapon you are going to have to do the tap fire to burst fire thing. So some of the other weapons I noticed I was able to just like full auto. So that's one downside I would say to this weapon, but it's like one of those weapons again though where it's like since the recoil is very low, like if they're like without any cover in like the middle of like nowhere basically, you're going to be able to full auto spray them down as long as you don't whiff your shots. But for the most part you should be in the habit of like whenever you're using some of these weapons to be burst firing, tap firing to make sure you are landing more of your shots on people that are on the mid to long range. Now luckily, as long as you have the extended barrel on, you are going to have a 900 bullet velocity, so it's basically going to feel like very similar to like hit scan, because your bullets are going to reach people very quickly, so you're going to be overall like killing people very quickly with this weapon. And it is still a 25 damage 770 fire rate weapon, so it's still going to feel very competitive with like a lot of the stronger weapons in this game right now. So that's one thing I do want to clarify with this weapon, is that with the high bullet velocity you're mostly going to be in good shape when it comes to fighting people in like the close range, especially like the SMGs and like some of the other like broken meta weapons. Like you're going to be in pretty good shape against them just because of the fact that you have that high bullet velocity. Now the fire rate might not be as good on like compared to like the Vector or like the M4, but it's going to be very similar, so you're going to be in mostly good shape. And we all know like in this type of game it's not like just gonna be like a straight up 50-50 gunfight with every single person you come across. You're gonna have games where you're coming full on behind like a full squad of enemies and you're gonna be able to spray them all down before they're even able to react. So you know what I mean, like there's gonna be a lot of different scenarios. Now something that I did wanted to bring up when it comes to like the LMGs is that typically like what I like to do when I use an LMG is I try to look for flanks. So as I say on like my other videos, like typically guns like this I'm gonna slap them onto my assault class, and then that way I can have the spawn beacon. And what I like to do when I play this game is, for example on like Damavan Peak, if I get the side where I don't have Foxtrot like right outside of our base, then I will put my spawn beacon, or I'll run over all, like at the beginning of the game, right? The beginning will start. I'll run over to Foxtrot as soon as I can, and I'll put a spawn beacon down. And basically the idea that I have for this map is that I want to constant flank for Foxtrot, and if you're playing with other people, what basically ends up happening is that you can solo take or not solo take, but like squad take Foxtrot by yourself. And basically what that enables you to do is hit like a lot of flanks on people and be like a massive nuisance to the enemy team. And that's personally what I would recommend playing or doing when you're using this weapon, because one of the things that I notice is about like LMGs is that like you have potential to get so many kills. Like don't get me wrong, you do also have the potential of like getting posted up somewhere and just being like a really big like annoying nuisance when you are playing LMGs, but like since this gun is more of like an assault rifle LMG hybrid, you have that opportunity of grabbing more of an extended magazine and then go for like constant flanks with like the assault class, and you're not really like missing out on much, because like I said, since this is more of like an assault rifle LMG hybrid, you're not really losing that much movement speed in my opinion. And even if you were, it's not really that big of a deal, especially if you have that type of playstyle where you are like hitting like constant flanks on people. In my opinion, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Like for example, on this game of Damavan Peak, or Liberation Peak, excuse me, I don't know why I keep saying Damavan Peak. That map should come to this game, by the way, in my opinion. That map is such an iconic Battlefield 3 map. That map is actually the whole reason why I got into Battlefield like as a whole, by the way. So I would like love to see like a Damavan Peak remake come to Battlefield 6. Like imagine how cool that would be. Oh my god. Anyway, long story short, Liberation Peak, I go to Foxtrot right away, if I'm on the opposite side of Foxtrot and I basically get a spawn beacon there, go in with my squad, and then I basically run around on Foxtrot and I basically hit constant flanks on people, and it's pretty good, honestly. And I do think, like, don't get me wrong, I think you can post up and, like, you know what I mean, like, be annoying, like maybe you go like Charlie or something and you just be annoying to people coming out of Foxtrot and do it that way. But I feel like typically what ends up happening is you get overrun very easily when you are at like Charlie, so I feel like a more run and gun playstyle probably suits this weapon in particular, since it is more like an assault rifle than like an LMG in my opinion. But you know what I mean, that's more of like my personal preference on how I like to play the game personally. Like a lot of the times what I do when I play this game is that with my squad is I typically will run around with assault and use a spawn beacon, get like a nasty spawn beacon somewhere. And in this game it's actually like surprisingly really easy to get a good spawn beacon spot, because a lot of times people like don't really like watch out for spawn beacons as much as you would like imagine people would. Like the main thing you really got to worry about when you're placing spawn beacons down is just the fact of like spawning in and just like taking like an immediate gunfight. As long as you don't take like an immediate gunfight, like you and your squad don't take like an immediate gunfight off of spawning in, a lot of people will just never find like your spawn beacon. Like for example, this entire game that I played on this map, I didn't have anybody, like the entire game did, like this entire like full section of this game, find my spawn beacon at Foxtrot, just because people simply didn't shoot around the spawn beacon. So whenever we would squad wipe on like an objective somewhere, we would all just like spawn in and just go right back to Foxtrot, recap it, and it's pretty much GG's. Now in this map in particular, when you cap Foxtrot, you basically give your team like a constant anchor point. So like typically the way to win this map is to cap Charlie. However, you can't really like go from like the opposite side of the map to Charlie because you just get constantly bombarded by like snipers and stuff. So getting a spawn beacon at Foxtrot means that you can cap Foxtrot and then go behind the snipers to cap Charlie, cap Echo, and then your team pretty much just wins based off of that alone, in my opinion, if you have a full squad. But anyway guys, let me know if you guys enjoyed like my little like cup of tea when it comes to playing this map in particular, and if you want to see more videos like that in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!